All right, so for my database of the week, I chose the Yiddish Book Center Digital Library and Collections. It's a little bit unorthodox compared to other databases that people have been working on or been showing for their database of the week, but I actually have spent a lot of time at the Yiddish Book Center, so I wanted to showcase these digital capabilities that they have very recently been incorporating into the website. So for people who don't know what the Yiddish Book Center is, it's actually I think the largest library of Yiddish literature that exists. It was started by this man who was actually a Yiddish scholar, a Yiddish literature scholar, and he, I think it was the 80s, started um, this very grassroots campaign where he was going over the country and around the country and meeting with old uh, Jewish families, people who had emigrated to America in the earlier half of the 20th century, and collecting their libraries of books that they knew their children wouldn't want or they didn't have anyone to give to. And they are mostly out of print books, and the library itself is pretty overwhelmingly expansive. They have stacks out and everything, and they've just recently started working on uploading everything and digitizing all of the books. And it's a really fascinating project. You can read a little bit about it on the website if you're interested, and they actually have a much more in depth digital collection than I realized. So, when I started going through the collection that they have online, they kind of have standard fare, a digital Yiddish library that has, I think, now more than 12,000 titles available for you to read online. You can also download them free of charge, which is pretty uncommon, I think, for databases. I guess technically in the Creative Commons, a lot of these titles maybe are open source at this point, but it's really fascinating to me that people can just download these books. I mean, granted, you probably should know or have some understanding of Yiddish or Hebrew, but still, it's a very impressive database. And they also have a couple of other programs that I knew a little bit more about, like the archival recordings and the Yiddish audiobooks. So I know that for the archival recordings and the oral histories, they have a lot of um, lectures that were recorded pretty early on in the kind of inception of this program. And then, of course, they have a number of programs at the center itself, which is up in Amherst, Massachusetts. So you can go through and listen to those. But it's a pretty all encompassing collection of different materials that they have made available. And then, of course, they have the children's literature, which is a big part of their collection. If you ever get the chance to go to Amherst and check it out, I definitely recommend the trip. So for searching in the collection, there were a couple of things that were really fascinating to me. So I was going through the general search. This is kind of the basic, or it could be expanded into an advanced search that goes through the collection. You can search everything if you want. You can search audiobooks, archival recordings, any uh, format that they have. You can dig through and kind of sift through, and they've digitized all of these books, and in addition to um, in addition to transcribing them, so you can actually see the photographed pages of the books, which is really amazing. And you can see here the languages that they have available. So predominantly Yiddish, which, as people may know, is kind of a mix of German, Eastern European languages, and Hebrew that was predominantly spoken by Eastern European and Central European Jews. For centuries, for a really long period of history, and then it was kind of the mid 20th century that it really started to be phased out. I know a lot of people, a lot of older folks who lived in America and were raised by immigrant parents spoke Yiddish when they were younger, but of course don't really do that anymore. So it's been really exciting for them to find this resource, and uh, a lot of them retain a lot of the Yiddish that they spoke because uh, they learned it at such a young age. They learned it while they were growing up. So I wanted to do um, a quick search of their archive just to get an idea of how it works. And then I want to go into their OCR and their full textbook search site because that's really fascinating as well. So I figured just as a kind of preliminary search we would do. So it was just Rosh Hashanah. So I thought we could do cookbook and then holidays, or maybe just holiday. And use a boolean, see how that works, and it searches everything. No, okay, so no results found. Again, this is not a full text search the way that the other more in-depth and very much beta stage search engine is. So maybe if we search this, we have 2 results. So unfortunately, I don't know the translations of these books, but you can get a kind of an idea about it. It has the publication date, the space. Here we go. Notes about this book. So this can give you an idea of what it's about. We've got high holiday sermons, Jewish sermons, Yiddish Sukkot sermons, high holiday sermons, Jewish sermons. So nothing really about cookbooks. I have read that they do have cookbooks, and that's what I'm interested in. But that is, I guess, a search for another time. But you can see here you can read it online or you can download a PDF, and they also give you an option to purchase a printed copy. I'm not sure how that works. I think they might print them themselves and then bind them to send to people if you don't really enjoy reading on a screen. But I'm not entirely sure how they go about doing that. But something that's very brand new is the full text search that I was playing around with this week that was really interesting to me because it's predominantly in Yiddish. So I personally don't know any Yiddish or Hebrew. So this page truly is a mystery to me, but I find it so fascinating that the predominant search function is in the kind of mother language that this whole collection is really focused on. And that's wonderful for scholars and people who are looking for these for very specific um, retrievals and very precise research that they might be doing. And I don't know if they're going to be putting it into, oh, just went to my kind of homepage. Oh, here we go. English translation. Let's see how that works. Oh, no, I don't want to unsubscribe. Okay. So you can always translate it, but I just thought that was so fascinating. And they have a little search help here that explains a lot about how to use the OCR search. But again, this is something that for me kind of goes completely over my head because predominantly they're teaching you how to search in Yiddish and Hebrew, which is really kind of mind blowing. I wasn't expecting this to be an option at all. So I'm just really impressed that they have uh, been working on creating this very in-depth, very scholarly resource for Yiddish scholars, of which there are a lot that rely on the Yiddish Book Center for their resources. So this is a really fascinating project, and I just wanted to show everyone a little bit about it. All right, thanks, guys.